Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of PSINYS Paranormal Talk Radio Show. I am your host, Patrick, and unfortunately, we were supposed to start at 9 p.m., but for some odd reason, we were having technical difficulties here. We couldn't get on the air, and anyway, I'm going to try to get a hold of my host as soon as I can here, or my guest, I'm sorry. If you hold on a second, I have a caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Pat. This is Claudia.
Yes, Claudia. Hi. I just, unfortunately, I was having some problems here, and I just got on the air.
I tried to get on. I just wanted to wish you good luck tonight.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm waiting for our guest to call in. She's supposed to be calling in.
Okay.
Lorena, so if you want to hang on till she calls in, if you have any questions, that's fine, or if you want to call back, that'll be fine too. But we just got to...
Okay, will she be doing readings this evening?
I don't know if she's going to do any readings. I know we're going to be talking a lot about the paranormal stuff and the psychic aspect of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the readings, though.
Okay, well, I am going to hang up and listen. And
okay.
I might give you a call later on.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Pat. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was one of our persons we had on before, Claudia. And she's going to be listening in and maybe calling back. But yes, we had some technical issues for some reason, and we couldn't get on right away, but we're on now. And we're waiting for our guest, who is a psychic and intuitive consultant, who is working with the Paranormal Scientific Investigation of New York State, which is my group, and she is one of the psychics here. And the reason we have, which I think every team should have, and the ones that don't, I suggest they get a qualified psychic to work with them. The reason being is that when you have a psychic on your team and you're doing paranormal investigations, it not only gives a chance to improve the accuracy of the psychic who's working with you, but it also promotes the scientific aspect of a psychic as well. When Lorena goes in a place, there's no, she doesn't know what's going on, and she basically walks in on the site and verifies what the owners have told us, tells us where the hot spots are, what to look for, what type of entities are there. So when we bring her on, we'll be explaining a lot more about this, and we're just waiting for her to come on. Again, the call-in number, if you want to call in, anyone who wants to call in, is area code 914-205-5355. That's our call-in number. And we are live tonight with Lorena Miller, who will be calling in soon. And she will be our guest for tonight. Description is in the radio part of the show here. She's been very interested, and here she is now. We're going to bring her right on. Hello, good evening, Lorena. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Good. Yes, as I was explaining to the audience, we had some problems for the first 20 or so minutes here. The thing
technical difficulties.
Apparently, it's the modern world. But anyway, so I've explained to the audience a little bit about you and that you are on the PSINYS's team as one of the qualifying psychics for the team here. I guess my first question, and I'm sure the audience would like to know too, when did you first notice you had abilities?
When I was younger, my parents thought I had what they thought was either meningitis or scarlet fever. I was about 5 or 6 years old at the time. I was pretty sick, young little girl, but I noticed that my life had changed after that because once I was that sick, I started having these weird seizures were calm, and I've had them ever since then. And they were unexplained. They were undiagnosed for years and years. And I have a sister, an older sister, who had the same condition. She has abilities too, but never really moved forward with using them. And then when I was 8 years old, I started seeing things. So I started around the age 5 or 6, and I knew I was different from the rest of my siblings because I came in from a really big family. And I happened to be in an age gap between 2 younger sisters and 6 older brothers and sisters. But I always felt that I was very different from the rest. So it started when I was around 5 or 6. And as I became a teenager, I noticed that the abilities became even stronger as I got older. And then there were several life incidents that really made me believe. That's the best way to put it.
Right. All right. Now, as I said, you're on our team, and you've been on for quite a while.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I know that when you're on site, you can basically know what's going on in that place that before we even investigate it. I mean, once you're there, you can tell us who is there, and what spots to look for. Where we could set up our equipment.
Yes.
You've proven that several times. So that's now as far as the paranormal field. I know you've been interested in that for quite a while, but when did you first? Did that come with the psychic abilities, or was that something that came after that? Interested in the paranormal field, as far as doing investigations and contacting the other side?
My interest really became piqued. I was very fortunate. I used to travel with my grandparents when I was younger, and I got to, be around several of my other relatives. And I had a favorite aunt in particular who's still thankfully alive, that when I was younger, I thought she was all bogus when she said she saw these strange lights in a UFO. And, here I am, a young teenage girl, pretty impressionable, and she's talking about this stuff, and I know I have these abilities. I can't place complete bad judgment on her, but it was at that point I was just getting in towards my teenage years when the paranormal thing itself, I think I must have been in middle school, probably, maybe around 6th, maybe 7th grade at the latest, that my interest in the scientific part of things really peaked. I've always been a love of science. It's been very strong. And did pretty well in science-based courses, throughout my education. But I think it was around my teenage years that the whole paranormal field itself really started taking on a different meaning to me. As the more educated I became, I had a better understanding of what some of the things that were going on in my own personal life, and these abilities started making sense.
Well, yeah, that would seem to be it. Now, I know we've been a few places too, and I want you to kind of talk about that. basically I'm going to start off with the Gettysburg trip that we made when we were.
Oh, that was a fantastic. That was a fantastic trip all the way around.
Yes, definitely. I got an EVP up there too. Unfortunately, I still can't find it. But there was definitely something going on at that point because that was what, the Devil's Den, I think it was.
Yeah, there were several points of the team. We had gone through parts of the field. I remember the first night being there, and it was dark.
Right.
Coming upon the cemetery, there had been a woman floating across, an apparition floating across the cemetery field, and I thought, how neat is this? You get to see it right in person. It's not like you see it on TV.
Right.
But there were several places that really were significant there, and then, I remember the one episode being in the Devil's Den, especially near the really large rocks that I sensed there was something there, and I know the equipment was brought over, and I think this is where you got your best EVP to date.
Yes, because there was also atmospheric changes, because I remember you pointing out as to where you had seen the entity that was there.
Yes.
And as I was getting closer, I had quite a significant temperature drop, and it was a warm day. It was a warm day. I think it was like, I don't know, maybe 70 something out, or And as I got closer to the place you were telling me to go, where you seen the entity, you could feel, the cold, and it also registered. It got down to almost, I think it was a 38 degree down to 32.
It was 36 degrees. I remember you looking at the equipment and saying, wow, that's pretty cold pretty fast.
Exactly, dropped within seconds. And at that point, we didn't hear the EVP, but, it was funny because I remember a few months later, I didn't even play it till a few months later, and I remember it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, I said, well, this, I may as well try this. And, go over this and see, and then I remember the EVP, it came out, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was crystal clear, it was more like a gravelly type voice EVP, but you could distinctly hear parts of it where it was saying, it was calling my name, and it was saying something like, come back and save me, Patrick. And, but, it was more like, come back, save me, Patrick. And it was more like that. And I've got to find it and put it on here because it would be it definitely was one of the best EVPs we caught up there to date. The Gettysburg itself the place is just phenomenal as far as all sorts of entities and energies and electrical, the magnetic fields. It's a very happening place, paranormal-wise. Oh, yeah. Like I said, well, how many people died, in that area, in that one area? So, you got to look at it that way. And you're seeing, I'm sure that to this day there's probably hundreds of thousands of them still thinking they're fighting a war there in their own dimension, in their own place where they are.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I know that I had climbed up through, I think it was, it's the statue area up at the top. It might have been Little Round Top. It was. We had to go. I had to go up a set of stone staircases to get up to the very top of
I remember
the building. This like a small building there, and I remember as I'm ascending up the stairs, I knew I wasn't alone. That somebody was pushing me. Somebody pushed me, and I'm thinking, I think I'm here on pretty good terms, but there's a lot of mixed emotions and feelings for both sides, for those on either side and for those on this side. Sometimes it's not always a great encounter, but I took it with a grain of salt. I didn't hold any ill will against whatever spirit or entity was trying to do that. He got my attention, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I'm good on my feet, too, and stay balanced.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a really great investigation. Just being able to see a lot of orbs too up there in the one building I was just mentioning that I had taken pictures, and it's not nighttime. So when I went to digitally look and preview the pictures that I took, I'm thinking, wow, there are a ton of orbs. And I know the difference between orbs and dust particles that are flying within view of the camera and such, but these were definitely orbs. And the reason I bring that up is because as I was reviewing them digitally and having some of the software to view it, that when I would enhance and zoom in some of these orbs, there were clearly defined battle scenes within these orbs. And I mean, I still have them to this day. I have them stored on my digitally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of people would say, sometimes it's matrixing and stuff, but no, these were not.
No.
These were actual. There was even a couple where it looked like, period time soldiers at that point, a face of a period time soldier, probably a general or something, that showed up in one of them. So it's not, it's basically, again, as we've always said, once the person leaves the human body, they're basically energy, and science has proven that as well.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
In fact, I remember one physics engineer or physics scientist said that that there's enough energy in the human body that would be comparable to, I think it was 1,000 atomic bombs or something. So
could very well be. I know from my perspective.
I have it somewhere. I know it's a sound clip I picked up, but I remember him saying that, and I'm going to find that also and put it on a future show. But right.
We all come into this world as an energy source in the form of the flesh, and we leave the same way, just without the flesh. We go on, either to another purpose. There's everybody's talks about the afterlife and reincarnation and whatever they may call it. But we are a body of energy, and although we exist in the flesh, through a human life, when we pass on and go to the other side, we are in a different form, but we're still energy.
Right. And energy, of course, can't be destroyed. It can only be reconstructed or put somewhere. It carries on.
Yeah, that's kind of like a paranormal version of upcycling, as they would call it.
Yeah. Let's see.
I do know, in fact, that when we were talking about time between the point we're alive to when we pass away, we were at one point working with Professor John Foldy, a great man who's since gone on to the side, and he was looking and working on the theories, of time continuum and evolution, and how we ended up hooking up with him at some point is, he did the stuff the prior, what were we, what form were we, and what happens to us, when you pass on. And at that point, that's how a paranormal team going on to investigate, that's how we fit into the science part of things. Here you are in the life, and here we are talking about you in the afterlife. It was great conversations with him. He never ceased to amaze me. Just a phenomenal professor, and love for the science and the paranormal field, at least listening to us about it. And I wish we could have more people like him on this planet.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
He was very open. He specialized in communication, and I'm saying funny. So do I. Just with a live body or somebody from the other side, and that's how we clicked right off. And it was always great to talk with him.
Yeah, yes, it was. He, like I said, he was proving that the consciousness, never dies. It carries on. It his body, and he believed that, and I'm sure, there are other people out there that believe it as well.
I can imagine they do.
unfortunately, still there's a lot of unbelievers. But it's just like I said, it's just a question of going from one space to the other. I mean, it's a very thin line, thin veil of this side, the living, and the other side. So that's why we're actually seeing more and getting more better visions and quality of EVPs on investigations, whether it's day or night. It doesn't have to be the dead of night anymore, and I noticed that the past couple of years because it seems like that part of the veil between the living and the past, the people that have passed on, seems to be getting more and more open, closer, more communication-wise, I mean, as far as that goes.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer, too, that it didn't have to be only at nighttime. I think the whole veil of darkness, lends itself like a spooky, eerie, frightening sort of a thing. But in my experience, my entire life, it doesn't have to be 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't have to be at midnight. It doesn't have to be complete darkness. Things are happening in plain day, during daylight hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let me just give our number again out here in case anyone wants to call in. Our call-in number is area code 914-205-5355. And I'm your host, Patrick, and we're talking with Lorena, our psychic, tonight. So if anyone would like to call in, has any questions or anything that they would like to ask us, please feel free to call in at the call-in number. Again, it's area code 914-205-5355.
And thank you again for having me too. It's good to connect.
Yes, no, it is. Like I said, it's now getting back to another place that we headed to. Salem was another place. I remember Salem, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And, if you want to maybe tell us a little bit about your side of what happened out there.
Well, let me tell you, on a funny note, getting there was half the joyride. We had a GPS in the car at the time, and I'm a built-in GPS. I was getting so frustrated with this talking GPS that I was threatening to throw it out the window because it told me to take a legal U-turn in the middle of traffic.
Yeah.
And I was glad this thing's got to go. But we had gone into the heart of Salem. It was a great trip. We had a number of people that had been with us, and one thing specifically we wanted to get to was the cemetery at night.
Yeah.
And some people will say, "Oh no, why would you want to be in the cemetery in Salem of all places when it's dark out?" And I would say, "Why not? Why not?"
Yeah.
That was we've got a number of pictures from Salem too, and it was, I wouldn't say it was odd, but it was different because the energy source within a cemetery is a little different from other places that I have been, and I mean from an electromagnetic, electricity sort of feeling is how I describe it, with the way I am as a psychic. Picking up, I'm very sensitive to energy sources and vibes and vibrations, sound or energy vibrations too. And I was standing near a couple of cemetery graves that are somewhat connected, and it was near a tree. And I was telling one of the other people in the team at the time, I said, "You got to come over here and check this out." And we did a little more research too after we looked at the name on the gravestone, and found some pretty interesting information about the deceased person. I said, "Well, that might explain some stuff, wouldn't it?" But it was nice walking through the cemetery, and people would say, "What do you mean it's nice to walk through a cemetery?" Well, you know what? When you're on the other side and you don't have anybody to really talk with from this side, unless they have abilities, it's got to be hard to not be able to communicate, want to be able to say things, or pass on messages, and that's true for just about anybody who's hanging out in cemeteries. It's you're kind of like a target. When you walk in as a psychic or a medium, those who have abilities, and you're walking through a cemetery, you need to be prepared for it. One, you got to have a strong heart, but you also have a strong conviction. Are you either going to act like you're nuts and talking to yourself, or you really have it in you to want to be able to communicate with those from the other side, and maybe try to help or pass on a message? It's probably important to them. It's probably their entire world. But
right.
To the human form, it's a fine line between thinking people you're crazy, if you're a psychic or a medium, or if you're really legit. Because there's been a lot of there's been Miss Cleo was whatever her name is, years back. She was brought up as a fraud, and it's different. I guess it depends on where you are, who you're with, but energy, positive energy, is something very important to carry around and stay connected with when you're in not so great places either.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, let's when, like you were saying about the people on the other side being frustrated because they're trying to say things, and us as normal people, or the normal people, don't see them or acknowledge them, that they're there, and the way I've always explained it is like this. Let's say that you're behind one of those one-way mirror things or something, okay? And I'm on the side where I can't see you, okay? But you can see me, everything I'm doing, so because you're on the other side. And,
yes.
We'll say the wall is soundproof or whatever, and you could be talking and yelling and trying to push me and stuff, but I can't physically, see you or hear you, and I'm sure that would be, knowing that they're there, and it would be the same with me, knowing, if I was there and knowing that, I'm trying to say, hey, here I am, talk to me, and that would give you, of course, gives you a feeling, and excuse me, and I do believe that when a person first passes, leaving the body is quite a transition, and it's a transitional effect that also takes place with that person. Even if they weren't violently ejected from their body or killed at the time, whatever, they still have a little bit of not knowing what happened, where they are, a little bit of confusion that hits them
yes.
at first. And that doesn't matter who you are, or how old you are, or what type of religion you are. You're confused at first, because you hear a lot of times where the person exits the body, they look down, they see what's going on, they see people around them. Sometimes it's their loved ones, and they're trying to talk to them. That's where I'm saying it's like being on, it's like being able to see the person, but they can't see you. So it's like being on the opposite side of a one-way mirror, or two-way mirror, whatever they call it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, there was one incident in particular that I still remember. Speaking of when they just pass over,
right.
I had come into the emergency room, and this woman, lovely woman, had just passed away. Only not even in the last hour, and coming upon the bed, and she was concerned about the library books. Was one of the first things she communicated to me was she was upset because those library books needed to get returned, and all I could do was just blurt out, this is what she was talking about. And the thing is, sometimes I'm not always sure. Those living that will hear the stuff that I'm blurting out will, think, what is she talking about? Some may not know, but some who know the loved one who just passed over knows what they're talking about. So, yes, there is some confusion on the person who just went to the other side, but sometimes there's confusion on the human side, too, because they're in such a state of shock and disbelief and grief, they're just plunged right into it. They're not always thinking it, and maybe later, somewhere down the road, a few minutes later, or a few hours or days or weeks, like, oh, the light bulb goes on. Now I know what that person was talking about. Now I understand. So sometimes it's great to be well connected here with the humans on this side, and it takes a lot of energy for those who decide to make themselves known. It's a tremendous amount of energy to really, move things or get somebody's attention. And there has to be the resources to help them. That's water, electricity, both are great conduits together to be able to help that person collect that energy to be able to get the living person's attention. And that's just maybe sometimes to the non-believers, things will all of a sudden move, the door closes by itself or window shuts by itself. It takes a lot of energy to do that. But as those with abilities, I can pick up on who's where and what right off, which is great, but it's being among the non-believers to get them to understand, no, this is where I'm picking up this entity or this energy source is, getting an EVP here, let's put some cameras on it. And it's nice working with a team that actually listens to, the recommendation. I can't force people to believe, but it's great to have that scientific piece backing it up that, like, okay, here, this is where I sense this person or whatever thing is, let's get something from this area. And most times we do.
Yeah, Well, like I said, I would say that you're being on the team here and the investigations we've done, past and recent have it's been at least 98 to 99% accurate, and the 1% where sometimes you may have been a little off, but everything was right there. I mean, whatever you said we were going to pick up, or you told us to put the cameras, the EVPs. I mean, it was there, and that not only, like I said, helps us find the evidence that we're looking for, but it also helps prove the scientific aspect of the ability of a psychic, able to see these things, and proves scientifically too at that point that it gives us evidence to go on a scientific basis that psychic abilities are real. They're not just something that come up overnight and something that, like in the past, that people would be scared of or say they're witches or whatever. But it is going toward that scientific purpose as to what proving that this is a scientific field as well.
Yes. I remember explaining it to a couple of team members and other team leaders that I had talked with. I said, it's the best way to describe a psychic, or maybe in a meeting, but more I can speak for myself. We're like the equipment in the flesh. Yeah. We don't have an on and off switch. You don't have to hook us up to anything electrical. I mean, for me specifically, I can see and hear others from the side, not just the living, but also those from the other side. I've had to become less conscious of what people might think of me, but it's those who might have a hard time accepting. It's not always easy for them to hear it, because maybe they haven't experienced, maybe they did experience and are just too scared to admit to it. But either way, it's the best way for me to describe it is like we are like equipment, but just in human form, walking in the flesh.
Right. Yep.
I remember also too that picking up vortexes. Vortex is another scientific phenomenon. If somebody wants to believe that. The vortex is being an energy source for point of entry or exit, and collectively the vortexes that I've seen have been near or very near to sources of energies or ways of conducting energy transference, to be able to paranormal-wise to have those from the other side either speak or talk to. And they come through these vortexes, entry, or some don't go back. We have those that call earthbounds, some that are still on this. Well, they're on the other side, but they're still walking around. It's like they have unfinished business. They
right.
still remain here with a purpose, or they're trying to get a message through.
Right.
And I remember doing one of the investigations in Schenectady in this woman's house, and I stood on a sidewalk outside of the home and just said, "This place is loaded." And I was talking to the psychic on the team, and we both said and shook our heads in agreement that this, just walking through the door, that place had a vortex. I specifically pointed it out. It's in the basement, and it's not far from an energy source. The electrical box maybe was about 15 feet away, but it was closer to the water pipes. There would have been like a laundry area in that particular place of the basement that I pointed out. And I mean, there was some interesting history with the house itself being the two didn't match. We're going to say the house itself and the basement and or foundation were two different things.
Right.
Thus, after learning this, I said, well, that would explain why this place felt, quote, loaded.
Right.
And it was. A lot of interesting things took place there.
Yeah.
That investigation kind of stands out. There was another investigation out there. It's way past Rensselaer County. It was a little bit of a ride. Nice young couple, and just driving up to the property and pulling in the driveway. The other psychic on the team and I at the time were in the front seats of the vehicle. Before we even finished pulling in, we knew by just looking at that barn and picking up that there were not nice things in that barn, which proved to be truthful because several other team members were affected, and they were impacted. And we got not so much maybe specific hard scientific evidence other than these people finally experienced something they hadn't before. But we knew right away that before even getting out of the vehicle could pinpoint one of the areas that were troublesome for the property owners. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. That's why I always say that, every team, and I know most of them, well, a lot of them do. I can't say most of them, but a lot of teams do have psychics on their, with them on investigations, and which I think is great. And like I said, it definitely helps. The paranormal team getting evidence, by knowing where to look and instead of just probing around all over the place, and it also again proves the ability and the proof of the psychic as well to go on the scientific part of this field. So
the one of the things I like about that, the concept of having a psychic on a team, is sometimes you can get quicker results if, say, especially it's beneficial for the person who called us to ask to do the investigation in the first place. Sometimes it's not just scientific evidence or whatever anybody could be looking for, but maybe it gives an answer. Maybe it gives some closure to the people who needed us to be there to be able to get a message from the other side and pass it on, give some sense of comfort. I don't like, me personally, I'd rather find the good in things, and I like to keep a positive energy with me, that sometimes we do come across not so nice entities. And the thing is, I don't think it's on purpose to try to be really mean, but sometimes it's the frustration, which we were talking about earlier, the frustration, their inability to be able to communicate with those that they had previously when they were still alive. It's got to be hard for them. So I liken myself to try to be a conduit for them, to be able to maybe pass on something that, and I always, the ironic thing, and it's kind of funny, is the signs that these entities, those from the other side, give me tend to be 90% of the time food related. And what better way than to connect with somebody, because when you're human, you have to eat to live, is connecting through a specific food the person might have liked. Things that they try to give me to help pinpoint and prove to the living people that we're doing the investigation for, that yes, this is who it is, and this person is here.
Right.
And that's one particular thing that happened at this place that had the barn with the not so nice vibes coming out of it on that property. It was interesting. It was also interesting for the homeowners too. It brought to light a couple of things that maybe they could do for themselves. So I like it when our team can actually help the people, not just come in, take pictures, get notes, blah, 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 go on, oh, yeah, we'll be contacting you with what we found. I'd like to have a more hands-on approach with these people, but I also get a sense if they're up to it or they're not. So I do pay attention to not just body language, but I also pick up on, things coming from the homeowners or property owners. So I have to be mindful and respectful to that. Hey, if they're not ready to hear it, then it's just something I'll make note of for investigation purposes. And if they're up to hearing, absolutely, I will explain. And I like it when they ask questions. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely the part of helping people and explaining what basically explaining the unexplained, and able to communicate. So the whole purpose of being a paranormal investigator, you first of all, you either have to have some type of an experience that happened to you, or a belief in the afterlife or the unknown to start with. You just don't start an organization like the paranormal or anomalous investigator investigation team just to to see if things do exist. I'm sure maybe there's one or two out there that have done that, but mostly paranormal investigators usually have an on-hand experience of something that happened, or definitely a great strong belief in that type of research to even get into that field. So, that's helping people, being able to tell them that having someone like you on the team, being able to tell them, or even just being you and having someone contacting you, being a psychic, to bring the loved ones closer together, someone that passed, and like you said, to let them know that you are speaking with them, and to either give them closure or a message from the other side, and that's very, very helpful. So it's not just, like you said, that's true, not just all about the collecting the evidence and stuff like that. It's about helping people and pretty much giving them a sense that, well, your loved one is fine, your daughter, your husband, your son, who's ever on the other side, and this is what they have to say. And by finding out something that only that living person would know about the person that passed, makes it twice as valuable to them, because they know it's not a trick or something, and they know that it's something that person couldn't have found out unless they had heard it from the person that passed. Right. One of the abilities that I have, for both on the human side and those for the other side, is remote viewing. And remote viewing is interesting in itself, and it does take used to take a lot of energy to do it. But I've had people come up to me, that were friends of other people, and I'm listening on the conversation, and I kind of get engaged in it, because all of a sudden I'll tell them, I can remember being in the cemetery out in, I think it was Oneonta or Morris, somewhere out in that general area, and had just gone to a funeral, and was talking with a friend, and his aunt was, concerned about things going on in her own home. And at that point I said, and yes, this person is making themselves known. It's right in the kitchen. It's near a wall where the garbage can is. And so what I'm doing is I'm describing the layout of the kitchen and where this person is generally hanging out. And I said, is this the area where you will see things happening? And they just looked at me like, Right.
How does she know?
Right,
remote viewing, if that's what some would call it, is
right.
It's, to me, it's more than just having visions, as they call it. It's actually being able to see things in real time, in time right now, some other place. But I've also seen things from the past. I've seen things from the future just as easily. So it's not just in the moment, but it's also seeing things. It's like taking a step back in time. If you could put this timeline out there in human terms, being able to go back and seeing a particular a room or an incident, a place, a thing that had happened previously. And it's the same thing with the future.
Right.
You know, being almost a kind of, the thing is, it's almost like a disclaimer for myself or for anybody else. Psychics are not on 100% of the time. We don't have a switch that goes on and off. We can't do it just on demand either. It's something that's brought to us, to a power bigger than us. So obviously we can't give out lottery numbers. Otherwise we'd be rich.
Exactly.
But where I was going with that, the whole communication process is still pretty important, and being able to connect with those on either side, and helping. And that's why part of being able to see things and help people say, this is such and such who's trying to communicate with me, and they're giving me a layout of a place or room or an incident, and that's how I can make that connection with those from the other side to those on the living side and explain to them, this is what I've seen, which gives credence to that. No, we're not a bunch of, jackwagons and trying to just sit in your place and think we're all nuts. And that's something, too, that the stigma of being a psychic or a medium for years was, not taken seriously, all for entertainment and whatever. And there's been some, valid, legitimate people who've got the abilities. The thing is though, you can't use it to such an extreme that you can't get a big head, and, you can't abuse or overuse those powers either that are given to you.
Right.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier with somebody. I said that, there used to be, I'm not going to name names, but there used to be some pretty well-known psychics out there, one in particular who was, good when she first started off, but then started, getting into the financial aspect of the situation, and was charging like $500 or $600 an hour for a reading, and and then all of a sudden you could see things slipping with her readings. I mean, she was falling downhill, and to the point where it just got, whatever she's saying now, she's picking out of a hat. So a person that had these powers when she was younger, and then misused them as she got older for profit, instead of what they were given to her for. I mean, I'm not saying it's fine to. I mean, if you got the ability, you want to give readings. Obviously, you don't want to give them for nothing, no. But you're doing it. You're not charging $10,000 or $5,000 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever. You're doing it at a reasonable. Say I want to talk to somebody. They want to know a lot of stuff. Okay, give me 1 hour of your time. If that's the way you're making a living, or helping support yourself, fine. $40, $50, something like that. A reasonable thing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going off on a tangent and like a couple of these psychics who had lost their ability, and this is what happens. Like I said, the universe. I always see things that the universe. There's the universe has no sense of humor. And I've always said that. I think I said that to you and a lot of other people. So whatever you, they when you do something wrong, you should be, and if your abilities are stripped from you at that point, well, then that's good, because you went against a universal law in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's especially I don't look at it as a money making thing.
Right.
To me, I think somebody who does it has to have the heart of wanting to be able to help, and not look at it as, oh, they're just a money figure, because you're in it for the wrong thing, and universe is not going to like that either. I mean, karma will come around. We've got a power bigger than us. We've got spirit guides. We have resources available to us through spirit guides and other entities. I've never been in a place in my head or my heart that I've wanted to abuse that ability. It's always about trying to still helping somebody else, because, hey, I'm on the same side you are. I'm still here on the human side. But I don't want to exploit it and take it to the 20th degree, where if I remove myself so much from the whole purpose of helping, then my heart's not really going to be in the right place. And you know what? That's when you start screwing up. That's when your credibility starts taking a hit. That's when you start falling apart, and it's not good. And you know what? There's not really going back either, because it's like pissing off the spiritual mafia. That's the way to put it. You pissed off the spiritual mafia, and you better watch what you're doing, because, we're all here for a purpose. Let's not exploit it, especially for somebody who's lost a loved one and just really needs the sense of mind, give some sort of a comfort or peace of mind to them. That shouldn't come at a high price.
Yeah, that's right.
It absolutely should not come at such a high price. And again, there's days I'm not at 100%. I'm still human. I still have to function, go to work and take care of things, kids, and I have my grandkids. I don't like to think that, hey, I've got a reason here. Let's really take money from other people. Let's start saying, and let's start stretching the truth, so to speak. Let's stretch the truth and see how much I can get out of it. That is very wrong in my eyes. Very wrong.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And we were recently, at a casual setting, and there was this young girl who I just met for the first time, and it was interesting that somebody from the other side wanted to let her know that they were there, and so two things were brought to mind right off, and I said pickle juice, and you keep calling your friend dork. I said, does this ring any bell to you? And she just looked at me like, what? How do you know? And it's nice to know that at least there's some people who believe or try to believe. I can remember years ago on my job that I had gained a friendship through one of a local payroll company, and the district manager and I got to be, pretty good friends. And at one point I started talking about this stuff. And, after I brought a few things up, I didn't see her anymore. And that to me was a sign that, I guess she was not in the right place of mind to hear it. I don't know if I struck a nerve. Maybe she's had her own experiences and didn't want to talk about them. Because, again, there's kind of that stigma that you say these things out in public, they're going to look like you're a total weirdo or something. And it's hard for people who don't believe to really hear it, because they're thinking, they're 2 wires short of a full circuit or something. So this is something I've dealt with for a long time, even so much so that I really still don't say anything to some of my former classmates. We got a high school reunion coming up. I let a few of them know, but very few. And in fact, I went to a wedding of one last year, and they were so glad to see me because they didn't think I was going to show up. But, I went and had an enjoyable time. It was good to see people that I had gone to school with for many years. But it's still something that I don't always make, really public, so to speak, in my personal life. But I'm more than happy to help people who call, need some sort of a message or, especially with investigations. I do them because I know there's a purpose in trying to help better understand what's going on in this particular house or on this land. And, being with the team, it's all being able to collect some evidence, but it's about, bottom line, really helping these people understand what's going on, what's causing it. Try to give a full explanation as best as you can. And based on not just evidence, but having a psychic on the team kind of, ups the ante and maybe being able to get some sort of an answer for these people.
Well, yeah, it definitely helped. It definitely helps. It helped us quite a bit. So we're very happy that you're with us.
Oh, I was glad to be on there too.
Yeah, I remember one time we it was amazing because I think we were probably the only group around that I think had what do we have four psychics at one time?
4 psychics. We had 4 psychics in the team at one point, and it was phenomenal. Just being able to connect with each other and being on investigations. It's we were even tested on one investigation. We were tested. There was I was in one part of the building. One of the psychics was in the other section of the building, opposite sides, mind you, and kind of being tested that it was a Schenectady-based investigation, and I remember that being asked, from the dispatcher leader at the time. They asked me, so is this particular entity still in the room? I said no. They left about 5 seconds ago, which corroborated with that psychic in the other part of the building. So it's like even for those who are non-believers, you test this all you want, but it's not like we're going to come up with a foolproof plan of, this is what we can do, but we're real. We exist.
Oh, yeah. Well, another thing that's helped paranormal research quite a bit too, and the dealings with the afterlife and life after death was the opening up of the quantum physics field.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That has definitely, opened up a whole new world, and also has turned most of the scientists and stuff of what they knew or thought was correct under the new field of quantum physics. It makes everything obsolete because there's a whole different world than what science had used to believe in when it comes to quantum physics, because objects can be in 2 places, the same object at the same time. It proved the alternative reality.
The dimensions,
universes. And it's definitely proved that there are other dimensions now, and by the opening of that science and that field, it helps. It helps us too, because it proves what we've been saying pretty much all along, that what I believe and what I'm sure other paranormal teams believe, most of them, is that your body, when you leave your body, your energy, your spirit, your soul, just rolls into another dimension, and whether it be the 4th or the 5th dimension, it's where you are when you pass, and it could be, to the person that passed, if they have a strong belief in heaven, then that's where they are. They're in heaven. I know a lot of people. I don't like to get into the religious aspect of it, but a lot of your strong religious Catholic believers believe that when you die, you're in heaven. That's it. Or you're did something bad, you go to the other direction. But I know my friend, I still remember, always says, make sure you bring shorts with you because that's where you're going. But if that's what you've been, if that's what you believe in when you pass, obviously your mindset, if you've been a good person and you believe that's the case, then that's where you are. That's
you think of it like this way, where energy is attracted by the like energy. If you live a positive life, or at least mostly positive life, you're going to be geared toward going more toward where that positive energy is. And it's just the opposite for those who karma's going to get you in the end. And, people say it all the time, and rather than going out and getting revenge, they'll just say, let karma take its place,
Oh, yeah.
And I know part of the thing, too, is like when you're talking about the physics and, that scientific part of things, frequencies. We all live within frequencies and vibrations and ranges. I mean, think of it this way. How come a dog can hear such a high-pitched frequency yet the human ears can't?
Exactly, yeah.
Because we're all geared different. So there is a huge range of frequencies, right from the very lowest right to the very highest, and yet each level of frequency, whether low right up into the high, makes an impact on people. Yeah. I mean, I hear things. I hear energy. So I can hear frequencies. That's where somebody else can, a dog will hear this particular whistle, would be invisible or deaf to the human ear, but I'm close to hearing those type of things.
Yeah. Now, another thing that's been proven too scientifically when it comes to frequencies is that frequencies have effect on objects such as water. That certain frequencies can vibrate water into certain patterns and even kind of make them dance in a sense. It also it also works with some type of what is that stuff? It was done with a dish of magnetic particles, I think.
Right.
And they had used different sound effects to make the magnetic particles vibrate and build themselves to different shapes and patterns.
Exactly.
I've also another thing. There's actually I was reading a while back that there's some guy that I can't think of his name now, but he had built a device by using sound. He was certain sound waves that obviously we can't hear, and was able to actually put out a small fire by using sound. So I think he's working on a patent to try to get that to have it used for fire purposes. I mean, think of it. You're at a place where you can't get a lot of water or something, and you have this certain sound pattern, and you could probably use a few helicopters or something to go over, like a forest fire. Using a sound pattern, you could put out a sound frequency. You could put out an entire fire with no water. I mean,
exactly.
That's pretty good.
Hey, I've seen it in films. I've seen it in movies. It is reality, but I mean, it's exaggerated in movies. One example is I think it's the Avengers series where the Hulk was fighting the U.S. government army, and one of the devices they had was the sound waves that pummeled him, and it brought him right to his knees, literally.
Well,
that stuff is real.
Unfortunately, yeah, that is. It's used, I guess, in certain cases they plan on using it for crowd control or something like that. Or I mean, there are devices like that. I don't know if they've used it yet in the army overseas or Iraq or anything, but yeah, definitely. I mean that it's some sort of a ultra high frequency sound wave, and it also microwave.
Well, I'm just glad for right now it hasn't fallen into evil hands and has not been used for widespread negative purposes. And so some people, and I will say that the movie industry has been getting a lot more daring in the last, I'm going to say at least a decade, that some of the movies that are coming out are, not too far from what people might think the future is or the reality of what's going on now and how it's leading up to what the future may hold.
Yeah. Well,
so I can even see some of the things. Of course, there's been a lot of documentaries out there, and it's hard to understand. Okay, which one is factual, which one is not.
Right. That new movie, though, that in fact, I just recorded it. It's a new movie about Area 51, where a group of it's a conspiracy theory type thing. It's probably kind of reality based, but it's about a group of these teenagers who decide to break into Area 51, and they use all type of high tech devices to get in there, to distort the high-tech devices that, that Area 51 people have set up to prevent people from getting in. Well, anyway, I watched it briefly, and if you know something about, what has been going on in Area 51 before they actually moved stuff out of there, the levels and stuff below ground, which is where most of it was, and I still say there are still a few sources there. But anyway, if you look at this movie and you've known something about the actual area, or you've worked there, or you were privileged enough to be there at some point for some odd reason, you look at this movie and you say, "Geez, this is so much fact in this movie as to what is there, and as to what is happening, and to that last level where the aliens are apparently working with the government. It's amazing because it shows it. And the thing that got me was the section where they had the saucers themselves, where the ship is completely sealed. There's no hatchway, no nothing, but yet you approach a certain angle of that ship, and it just mysteriously opens up. You go down inside, it closes up. There's no seams, no door, no nothing. It's like, the hatch will open and then disappear.
Oh, so, like Stargate, with the
exactly,
Stargate's an example of having the what they call the rings, there, and people started watching that. I started being a watcher when it first came out. I'm thinking, when the movie was out a long time ago, and I think James Spader played the part in it, he became a believer. He became a believer too. That there's all these dimensions and the wormholes, all sorts of stuff, and it's. There was some part truth to some of the things that were in some of those episodes. Not 100%, but like I said, you could stretch the ability to be able to really give people a glimpse of things without, overdoing it and saying, "Whoa, this is out there." But that movie, I know which one you're talking about, and it's going to be interesting to see it in full length. Because what people knew for decades, Roswell, Mexico, all the other UFOs, number of Photoshop pictures we've seen over the decades, and people who are saying they're abducted and such. People are going to they're going to eventually see things. I'm hoping I do in this lifetime to be able to see some changes taking place. Climate change is no joke. It's there's been a big impact. I'm always keeping my ear to the grind on the scientific stuff, the earthquakes that take place. Several years ago, we had that bad earthquake. I think it was out in Chile. Scientists were saying it threw the Earth's axis off by 0.3%, and very small fraction. But I feel stuff that's happening out in the world. Because, like I said, I'm still pretty sensitive to energy and vibrations and frequencies and such. That's one way which helps me to pinpoint entities or cold spots or those from either side. That's kind of like having my own radar and scanner in one.
Yep.
And but on the global level, I feel things, and I get impacted. So I have to be able to still take care of myself in a human way, to not be so overwhelmed from the psychic point of all these changes that have been happening on the planet. And I've been with a close group of friends for some time that, I said about 3 years ago that I said in about 2013 you're going to start seeing some things really pick up. There's going to be more people passing away, life events that are taking place that you didn't think would at the time. Well, little did I know I'd be impacted myself, because my sister passed away 2 years ago, and not long after my stepfather had, and so I take things on a personal level.
when it comes to me, I try not to be, like, oh, goody, goody, look what abilities I've got, because, some days it's kind of hard to know things that I really don't want to know. So we have to be mindful as psychics to just make sure we're still taking care of ourselves first, to be able to stay in a clear state of mind, be able to help anybody else, much less ourselves. But you're right about the physics part, and when we speak of the frequencies and vibrations out there, and more and more stuff is happening too. You're going to see more things happening on YouTube. People are starting to show things, and you know what? Bottom line is, there's still believers and there's a lot of non-believers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But definitely, like I said, you got to watch that, and like I said, the people who know, who have been out there, that have worked there, had experience, or knows what was going on. The part that intrigued me most, because I know this, is the ship itself. Like I said, where you go in and it seals, and there's no entry point, there's no exit point, but you know where it is, you get to it, it opens, whatever. Once you're inside the ship itself, it's amazing, because outside you can't see in at all. And when you're inside, the ship becomes totally transparent, 360 degrees, okay? You can see everything that's going on the outside of the ship, the people standing there, whatever you're flying over, whatever, and a full 360-degree view from the top level of the ship, and you can hear as well what people are saying outside of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But you're outside; they can't hear you. You can't hear them, or you can hear them; they can't hear you. They can't see you inside either, because the outside of the ship is totally sealed. So that part struck me very, whoever decided to do this movie was very much reality-based. They knew something, because that's definitely what happens inside those things. So.
Well, another example, too, is if when either somebody can see these or not, inside or out, it's things that happen on a global level, like when that airplane from over there in the Asian country had just completely disappeared, never to be found. And that was actually an incident that people were talking on Facebook, and I actually I actually posted a comment which got people to think differently about me, but hopefully in a better way, that we ended up private messaging each other afterwards, and I said, you really want to know what happened to those people? And I explained what I saw, and to this day, that plane was still never found. It's like the infamous Bermuda Triangle. They weren't in the Bermuda Triangle. They were in another location, but, things like that are happening on this planet, things that people can try to explain all they want, but when you've got a huge plane with all these many people on it, and it just disappears completely, and it's nowhere near the triangle. How do they explain that one? What's the scientific part of that one? No, that's a whole paranormal stuff for sure. And it's you can't stand in the grocery line talking to the person behind you and say, so what about the plane that just disappeared? That's not a conversation starter. People are either going to look at you like you're like, really, do I want to get into this conversation, or they're going to walk over to the cash out line. It depends on how you handle a lot of global issues, and there's some things I know. I don't know everything on this planet. I'm not meant to. But I hone in on by a certain frequency and a vibration and a range to what I'm meant to know and what I'm meant to pass on and give people messages for, or see or do things. So there's more than just one of me, and each of us are different in each way. But put a few of us together, and like we had on the team, previously, 4 psychics. Some of the conversations were they were amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to have all of us on an investigation, it was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But you were talking about, the things happen dimensionally. It's still an interesting conversation. Very interesting with some people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, even in some of the, most of the scientific community now is great believers in that, and they're understanding it, they're researching it, and a lot of your laymen too, people who, are in the science field, or even those that aren't in the science field but interested in it, are beginning to, see that there are different worlds. Oh, another thing, speaking of that, the worlds and stuff, dimensions, this Kepler telescope or space probe that they sent up, I think it's Kepler or whatever.
Yes, it is.
Since it's been up there, it has discovered so many Earth-like planets. It's unbelievable. I mean, they've got a list of them. Last I checked, it was like 525 they found in our own backyard here. So, I mean, in the Milky Way galaxy itself. So,
well, I would say before we can go on to any other planet, we got to stop screwing with the one we're on.
Well, that's it too. Yeah, I mean, but we do know that we have seen now that there are Earth-like planets out there.
Yeah.
Capable of supporting life.
All I know is y'all ain't going though, because this planet itself, one of the people that had been on the team, and I wish I could connect with him again, had said it in such a way that I said, that just, it makes me laugh at the same time realizing, there's some truth to that. And he said, Mother Earth is tired of this stuff, and she's just going to shake us all off like a bad case of fleas. And I said to him, yep, and only the strongest are going to survive are the ones who are meant to.
Yeah, that was the Native American guy, yeah. So I
loved him. And, I still think about that to this day. Realizing that, like I said, why come off this planet to go on to another one if we're going to be taking all the foolish, negative, crazy, non-loving, killing people out there? It's just no. It's if it needs cleansing, people. I guess what the general term people call it, Jesus is coming again. Well, fine. If he's going to come again, I'm hoping he's bringing a good crew with him because we got a mess here.
Yeah.
We definitely have a mess here, and it's like there's been other previous existing forms of life, like the dinosaurs. They went extinct. Things happen on this planet. There's records of things that happen on this planet, and it depends. It depends on what the hype is all about. You get a crowd of people involved, and they're all starting to talk about it and believe in it, or maybe not believe, or it's just. But I'll tell you that plane going down with all those people, that Asian plane that went down, that was a conversation for a lot of people, like wondering what happened to them.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like in the paranormal field. What happened to people? We're there to try to help out and maybe give some clarification. Give them a better understanding of, like you had said earlier, helping explain the unexplained.
Yep. And that's what we do here at PSI NYS. With our team, we try to, we attempt to explain to people the unexplained, and also not to fear it, not to fear the other side, the spirits that we encounter. I mean, you're right, there are some negative spirits. I of course, posted that one on YouTube way back at the former residence I used to be at, and I'll never forget it that day, walking in and that cabinet just flying right off the wall. Nobody could explain it. Not even the person that owns the place came in and said that cabinet was solid as a rock. I have no explanation for this, and it just missed me by a foot. So that was you didn't have to hear "get out." That was just a sign to get out.
Exactly. And what do people do when they hear those types of things? You get out. Well, you know what? We all have to share, and that was the other thing I tried to emphasize too with the team when we first started out. I said we all have to be in a coexistence sometimes too. You get these people, or I should say these earthbounds, these spirits that are still around, and some are not pleased with what happened to them or where they're stuck. But the thing is there's people and there's property that have an existence with each other, and you have to be able to get along. You have to be able to form some sort of an agreement, as crazy as it sounds, that you have to exist in the same place. People can't just pick up and leave. I mean, you've seen plenty of movies about it. Let's get the heck out of here, Martha. This place is haunted. Oh my God, get out of here. It's people want to remain in their home, and sometimes it can be a fine line between sanity and having a peaceful home.
Yeah. Well, that one investigation I was telling you about, that this lady emailed me, wanted the investigation done, and of course I referred her to another group that I know. Well, we both know, but I referred her to that group because. But I got the information from her. I'm not going to obviously say her name, but it's a place up in Catskill, and she had it's a 110-year-old property that she moved into recently. Her and her child and two other adults. But the point is, she had the same thing happening before. Before she was even I think married or had the child at the time at the old residence that she was living in. And,
right.
So when she sold the place and moved to this one, about a month later, the same thing started. And to me, it was negative force, something that had followed her. So whether it was the demonic or negative energy, whatever it is, it's causing havoc at her place now. Followed her, I believe, from the old house. And
that's what I call a paranormal lateral move.
Yeah, and I don't.
You bring in you bring in one thing with you from another place to a new one.
Right, and she said it's gotten worse. So I personally, I don't like to get involved in that stuff because
no, demonic stuff is not good.
It's better for somebody that actually knows how to deal with demonic activity and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's when you're going to bring in, the clergy. You're going to bring in the priest or somebody, a priest who's working the demonology and knows what to do.
Yeah, because like I said, dealing with that kind of stuff, if it follows one person, no matter how much white light you got around you, no matter how strong your protective force is, it's going to get in somehow, and you don't want to deal with that stuff, especially face to face, So anyway, speaking of, I know we were talking about Stargate earlier and this and that. And there's a thing on it was on what was it on? It was on the news, the space news, because I get that I subscribe to that. NASA, from what I understood, was working on a year ago. Was working on a warp drive system, kind of like Star Trek, where you would and they've designed a ship. They have a design for a ship, and it shows how it would go from one, how it engages in warp drive. It pretty much moves. It's not the ship that moves, but the ship moves a part of space and time itself by bending it, and then when it's bent forward, it springs something in back springs it, and it pulls it forward and springs it back. So somehow it goes into a warp drive. It bends space and time, making, like I said, the possibility of faster than light travel a reality. And I remember watching one of those Stargates. I think it was Stargate Universe. I think which didn't make much sense, but the more you watch it, which I have several times over the past year or so, it seems to make some sense. But anyway, I remember they were trying to open up the eighth symbol of the Stargate because they didn't. They knew there was an eighth. Yeah, and that's basically what Project the Stargate Universe was about. And apparently there was a ship called Destiny, which was designed by the ancients. The ship was automated. It seeded planets with stargates as you get into it. But the project was called Project Icarus. Okay. Now, funny enough, on the space news thing, they're going into the warp drive stage of developing their engine. The name of the project is Project Icarus.
Interesting.
Yes. So, I mean, think about it seriously.
Oh, I did. I had watched that. I had watched Stargate faithfully from beginning right up until. I wish they had continued, but maybe some things were getting a little too close to the truth,
Yeah, I Stargated you to death at one time. I remember that. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting because I mean, look at half the stuff on Star Trek. The little pads that they used to carry and get information from.
And the little tricorders. They're the little communicators. Hey,
exactly.
We got cell phones, all thanks to them.
Exactly. And a lot of that technology, like I said, the Gene Roddenberry was a man out of his time. I mean, he was ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, he was in his time. He had help from another time.
Exactly, yeah. He was definitely, he was great. But, anyway, this has been interesting. Time seems to have flown by.
Yes, it did.
And we still didn't get any callers, but that's fine. Like I said, I know a couple of the past shows I put on here, I've had close to 200 or 300 listeners. So hopefully they're able to hear this. And again, our call-in number, we only got a few minutes left, but it's 914-205-5355. And we're speaking with one of our psychics here, Lorena, on the PSI NYS Paranormal Scientific Investigation New York State team here. But yeah, it's been so much of this Stargate and Star Trek and all the stuff that's happened in the past, and so much now, being real. And years ago, 20, 30 years ago, when science fiction people, movie makers, were talking about other planets and, Earth-like planets, and we're going to go to this place and that place, and this Kepler space probe found at least 534 Earth-like planets so far.
Oh, yeah, people talk about there's another moon and what's on the dark side of the moon. And
we know that's a whole other show. We pretty much
know it is. I can say as far as movies go and portrayal, whatever it's for entertainment purposes, there's one movie that still sticks out very significantly for me. And when I tell people who, talk about the future and blah, 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 other beings, we're not the only race or beings in this universe. The movie that had Nicolas Cage in it was called Knowing.
Oh, yes.
That's the title, that Knowing, Knowing. That movie, my jaw dropped because I said, I'm telling people afterwards, if you want to see a movie that gives you some sort of a glimpse, realistically, of what some future events might be, I said, watch this movie. The beings that were portrayed in this film, I said, we're almost spot on with one of these races that I've talked with and, and feel comfortable with. And how things were done on numerology and predictions, wow.
Yep. They were familiar to me, too, there.
Absolutely. But that movie was, it really kind of hit close to home for me. And I just walked out and went like, wow. And that's when I said, well, I'll tell you, the movie industry is getting pretty bold, or, anybody else will look at it, oh, yeah, just entertainment, great movie. No, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm like, alrighty then, so people are starting to believe, and it's bleeding, if you so to speak, not with the dimensions, but through the movie industry. It's kind of like hints are literally being thrown out there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But I do hope to join you again for another talk show in the future, because there's so many topics to speak on, and, and we've been all over the place tonight, But
Yep.
talk about one or two things in the future, and focus on that would be great.
That sounds good to me. All right, like I said, we're almost out of time. I want to thank you for being on tonight. And
thank you for having me.
No, that's our pleasure, and I'm sure that you've enlightened us, a lot of people in the audience too, as well, on some of the topics we discussed tonight. I'm sure that'll make people aware of things that they should be aware of, in a sense. Not only the psychics and the paranormal field, but the quantum physics area, the other dimensions, the alternative realities, other worlds that are Earth-like, a lot of different things. So I'm gonna again say thank you, and I'm gonna sign off here in a few minutes. So it was nice talking to you, and we'll talk to you again.
All right, thank you so much, Patrick. Good to be able to talk with you tonight.
Yep, same here. Good night.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, and that was our guest for tonight. Sorry we couldn't get on earlier, but unfortunately there was some technical difficulties. I don't understand why. I've sent an email out to the people who run this broadcast studio itself, and have want answers to what happened, because normally it never happened before. I signed on, and it usually signs on, and that's it. I'm on the air. But for some reason, a good 20 minutes went by and nothing happened, and that was very frustrating. And I hope I didn't lose any of the people who were, tuning in at 9 o'clock. We did go on around 9:20 when the situation finally got resolved. And like I said, our guest was Lorena, who was one of the psychics. At this point, our only psychic on the team, officially. But at one time, we did have 4. And it was great. We would still like to connect with those people, and we're trying. So let's see. If you want to talk to Lorena personally for a reading or something, if you go to our website, www.psiNYS.com, and click on the team section, go down about 2 spaces. I'm first. Nancy is second, one of our investigators here and researchers. And Lorena is the third one down. There's also some cards there, business cards. You'll see one that says Lorena Miller, Intuitive Consultant, Psychic Readings and More. Her phone number's there. Her email address is also there. There's another card below it, which has 2 phone numbers and an email address where you could contact her directly. And let's see. And if you're interested in a private reading from her, again, you're not going to be swindled. You're not going to be charged $1 million. Whatever her fee is, I'm sure is reasonable. It's not, and she is very accurate, as I said. She's, been a remarkable help with the team here in past and present. I would give her 99% accuracy when it comes to 98, 99% when it comes to the investigation part of having a psychic on the team during the past several years. And feel free to, like I said, go to our website, www.psiNYS.com, hit the team section, and scroll down, and you'll see her business cards there. She also designs jewelry as well, and there's a card there under the team section under her name, Dragonflyers Jewelry, I believe it is. And there's a number there and email address that you could contact her to have specialty necklaces, earrings, anklets, and more. So, again, I want to thank everybody who listened tonight, I wish we could have got some call-ins because it would have been nice to, and she could have spoke with her. But she will be on the show again, and if you want to speak with her privately, that's what you got to do. And also, if you go to our website, www.psinys.com, you'll find a link to our Facebook page and also Twitter. You'll also find some of the previous shows that we had under podcasts that I've put on the website. And you'll also find some under the video section. You'll find some investigations that I've done that I posted up there on the video section of our website. All right. Well, I guess that about brings us to the end of our show tonight. I want to thank everyone who listened and those who are going to listen. Feel free to leave a comment, or like us on Facebook. We've already got well over 1,100 likes, and we're continuing with that. So give us your feedback if you want to, and we should be on next week again at the same time. I'll announce our guest sometime during the week and post it. Again, thank you for listening, and this is Patrick at Paranormal, PSINYS, Paranormal Talk Radio Show. This is number 14 in our show, and it was live. And thank you and good night.